during the meeting. They will be giving an opportunity to do so at designated times that I will announce. The number to call is 629-255-2921. Now, I encourage all participants on this call to stay muted as we work through this. Please use the raise hand function on the WebEx if you'd like to speak. If any commissioners are having technical difficulties with any of these functions, please let me know before we proceed. Everybody logged in and good to go?
Jim, I'm so sorry. I just realized that I gave you a typo. The call-in number, which will be displayed on the screen, is 629-255-1921. So my apologies for that.
No problem. Thank you, Grace. Okay, and with that, I will call the meeting of the Metro Arts Commission into order. We'll now do the roll call. I'll read out your name, and then if you could just indicate that you're here. I'll try to go through these. If I miss anybody, please, at the end, point that out to me. Commissioner Marcus Whitney, are you present?
Present.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Bonnie Dow.
Oh, here. Here, can you hear me? Yes,
yeah,
here.
Gotcha. Commissioner Clay Haynes. Commissioner Mattia Powell.
Present.
Commissioner Jane Alvis.
Here.
Commissioner Paula Roberts.
Present.
Commissioner Sherry Nichols Busey. I think you might be muted. Okay, great. Thank you. Commissioner Nikki Kaufman.
I'm here.
And have I missed any other commissioners?
Marianne Bird's present.
Oh, sorry, Marianne.
I might not even be on your list.
Well, I missed you as I was scrolling through the participant list, so apologies on that.
Jim?
You're one of our new commissioners, correct?
That's correct.
Welcome, Marianne. It's
Welcome.
Hope Stringer.
Thank you.
Present.
Hello, Hope. How are you?
Hi. Good. You look good. Glad you're
Thank
here.
you.
Right. And Commissioner,
brushed my
Sierra,
hair.
I missed you earlier, so are you present?
Yes.
Great, good.
Hi.
Is there anyone else I've missed? Okay, great. I need to call for a motion that the meeting agenda constitutes essential business of this body and meeting electronically is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans considering the COVID-19 outbreak and is permitted under the Governor's Executive Order number 16.
I move, Jim.
A second, Jim.
Great, I've got a motion and a second.
The motion.
I'm so sorry. When you make a motion in a second, could you please state your name for the audio recording?
The motion was made by Nikki Kaufman.
Was seconded by Hope Stringer.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Any other questions or comments about that? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Or do we have to do a roll call on that, Grace?
We do have to do a roll call on that. I'm so sorry.
Okay. I'm trying to think, how do we need to go through this? I guess just Commissioner Marcus Whitney, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Mattia Powell, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Paula Roberts, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Sherry Nichols Busey, how do you vote? Commissioner Clay Haynes, how do you vote? Aye. Commissioner Jane Elvis, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Bonnie Dow, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Nikki Kaufman, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Marianne Bird, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Hope Stringer, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Commissioner Schmidt votes aye as well. Any opposed? Oh, no. Okay, never mind. Sorry, I'm not running on all cylinders here. This is unusual. So with that, the ayes have it and the motion passes. Let's see, moving through my list here. Okay, and with that, we will move into our first into arts and action, highlights of our previous month's activities. Emily, I think you're going to do this.
That's me. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me all right? The last time you all met was a special session to reallocate operational funds for an additional round of Thrive. And the applications and approvals and coaching for those projects has been a big focus for us all. We funded 24 projects, 20 fully, 4 partially. And among those are this beautiful printable Nashville Strong coloring book, billboard murals like the one you see here from Xavier Payne, and many online classes and experiences like dance, improv, art, ukulele. You can view them all at metroartsnashville.com/thrive, and you can find events on the Metro Arts Google Calendar. Okay, next slide, please. Another exciting program we have going on right now is our I Voted sticker contest with the Davidson County Election Commission. You all approved this partnership back at January's board meeting, but just to refresh, in the celebration of 100 years of women's suffrage, we partnered with the Election Commission to hold a student sticker contest to design a special edition I Voted sticker for this year's elections. After a couple extensions for things like a tornado and pandemic school closures, we received 75 entries from students all over Davidson County, public, private, and homeschool students. And our citizen selection panel, thank you, Mattia, narrowed the field down to 8 finalists. The sticker with the most votes will be printed and distributed at all Davidson County polling locations for this fall's elections. So right now we're in the public voting phase, and as of 11 o'clock today, we were at about 1,800 people who have voted for their favorite sticker. You can view them all and vote at metroartsnashville.com/vote. Next slide. And a few media mentions. It's been a while since we got to look at these. So back in March, when we were just worried about shaking hands with each other, we partnered with the health department to have a campaign called No Hands Nashville that encouraged handshake alternatives. And WPLN ran a nice story about that. Our Thrive billboard project in Madison with Joe Nolan as part of his Pikes project turned out to be it's poetry from the students at Madison Park Community Center, and it's viewable from a social distance, safe in your car. It's on Gallatin Pike in Madison. Smart Cities Dive contacted Caroline to talk about ways to keep the arts afloat during the economic downturn. And Channel 5 carried the news of our available Thrive funding that was allocated in April. Next slide, please. Okay. A lot of our media attention lately has been around the voter sticker contest. So we announced that voting was open on Monday, and WPLN, the Tennessean, 4, 5, 17, community impact papers, and more all carried the news of that contest. Last update is that, oh, well, there it went. But the scene, has, in today's print and online scene edition, is a lovely story about the recent round of Thrive projects. So I encourage everyone to grab a copy or check online for that. Thank you.
And before we move on, Jim, I just wanted to let you know that Will Cheek is present in the meeting.
I was gonna mention that and note for the record that Commissioner Cheek has joined us as well.
I'm mixing a drink in Florida.
We're all very jealous.
Yes, I can hear the beach crashing in the background. Great. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it, Emily. Does anyone have any questions or anything they want to mention about that, the Arts in Action? Okay. Moving on, we've got some action items that we need to take up. The first is the Restorative Arts Re-Verification Project Awards for the summer of 2020. Grace, I think you are taking this on.
So actually, it will be poor Janine who has 4 action items today.
Sorry, apologies. Janine, I turn it over to you then.
Okay, great.
Before we start, sorry, we do need you to open it up to members of the public that would like to call in.
Okay. We will now move on to action item number 1A regarding Restorative Arts Re-Verification Project Awards for summer 2020. For members of the public that would like to call in regarding this agenda item, you may now call in. Our operators will put you on hold until we can let you into the meeting. Now I will invite Janine to present on this item. So Janine.
Great, thank you all. To give you a brief overview of the Restorative Arts program. Restorative Arts is a collaboration between Metro Arts, the Metro Nashville Davidson County Juvenile Court, and the Juvenile Detention Center. And the goal of Metro Arts, or Restorative Arts, is to facilitate meaningful arts experiences with the goal of creating safer communities and providing support and opportunity to those directly impacted by the juvenile justice system. Next slide, please. Restorative Arts summer programming will take place beginning June 15th through July 24th this summer. The initial plans are to go forward with the programming in the Juvenile Detention Center, but of course, backup and remote virtual plans were presented in their applications and are in place in case of needed closures and remote work for everyone's safety. Just to remind everyone, the re-verification process was part of what you all voted for, approved last year in regards to the overall guidelines for this year, and we are going to be just going over the awards for this year, so for the summer. The re-verification process was offered to current program providers in good standing. So everyone has been experienced and has done wonderfully and has been in compliance with everything that JDC has expected of us. Program decisions were made in collaboration with juvenile detention staff just this week. So with that, we'll go on to the 3 proposed program awards. First off, we have From the Heart. From the Heart is proposing music production studio and songwriting sessions that will introduce the basics of audio recording and production. Participants will get to research and explore various methods to record each week using different techniques and processes. Songwriting will allow participants to explore practical applications and techniques of the working songwriter, including melody, lyrics, hooks, point of view, song logic will be covered also. Songwriting as well as collaboration and songwriting will be introduced. Those will take place in 4 different music production sections 2 times a week. So all pods, so all groups or cohorts of students will have the opportunity to take this class. And then there will be 2 songwriting sections. The teaching artist is Carrie Frazier, and the award is $4,375, the proposed award. Right, next slide, please. Next, we have Global Education, and they're proposing 3 projects. They have a theater project called A Call to Respond, and also dance and music production, which will focus on composing for the dance and theater sections. All of those sections will explore what it means to reflect, respond, and create through that specific art form. They've proposed 2 sections of theater twice a week, 1 section of dance once a week, and 2 sections of music production 2 times a week. The teaching artists involved are John Royal, Daniel Westbrook, Summer Shack, and Carlos Duran. And the proposed award amount is $7,000. Next slide. Great. And finally, we have Southern Word. Southern Word has proposed beat making with a focus on the creation of radio-ready instrumental tracks and DJing. DJing will provide a hands-on experience with DJ software and also how to meld songs together for a variety of occasions. There will be 3 sections of beat making and 3 sections of DJing. The teaching artists are Jay Pearson, Saran Thompson, and Jaffe Judah. The proposed award amount is $4,800. All right, next slide. Okay. At this time, staff requests the following motion: approval of restorative arts re-verification projects for summer 2020.
Motion to approve. This is Clay Haynes.
Second, this is Bonnie.
Okay, actually, before we do that, I need to ask, ask the staff, is there any public comments on this motion submitted to email?
There were not.
Okay. Are there any callers with public comments?
There are not.
Okay, great, thank you. That is the end of the public comment. For this agenda item. We will no longer be taking calls regarding this subject. Are there any clarifying questions from commissioners about the motion that we had before us to approve by Commissioner Haynes? And I believe we had a second from, was it Nikki?
Bonnie.
Bonnie. Any additional comments? Questions? I don't see any hands raised in the list. So with that, we will run through a roll call on on the motion to approve. Commissioner Alvis?
Aye.
Commissioner Dow? Bonnie?
Yes, aye.
Commissioner Kaufman? Commissioner Byrd?
Aye.
Commissioner Stringer?
Aye.
Commissioner Cheek?
Aye.
Commissioner Haynes?
Aye.
Commissioner Busey? Nichols Busey? Sorry.
Sorry, aye.
Commissioner Roberts?
Aye.
Commissioner Powell?
Aye.
Commissioner Whitney?
Aye.
And Commissioner Schmidt votes aye. So the ayes have it and the motion is approved.
Great, thank you.
Great. Moving on to our second item, which is the fiscal year 21 guidelines for the Restorative Arts Program. If there are members of the public who would like to call in regarding this action item, you can call in now. Our operators will put you on hold until we can let you into the meeting. Now I'll turn it over to Janine to present on this item.
Great, thank you so much. All of you should have a copy of the FY21 Restorative Arts guidelines in your packet, electronic packet. I'll just go over a few highlights. First off, the program timeline. If approved, we will make the application open tomorrow. Applications will be due June 8th. Staff eligibility will take place right after that, June 9th and June 10th. Scoring and review panel will take place June 15th, and then we'll bring back the allocation to the Arts Commission June 18th. We'll also be presenting to the Grants and Funding Committee prior to that during our regularly scheduled committee meeting. We'll announce by July 1st, and then programming can begin anywhere after August 17th. So, and we'll continue through June 15th. We'll have invoices in March and December, and that was typical, similar to this year. And similar to this year, also successful organizations in good standing may be renewed just through a short re-verification process. All right, next slide, please. We have some slight changes this year in our funding categories. There's instruction and mentorship in detention center, and that remains the same. Just to go over it, organizations provide ongoing regular art experiences and/or creation and performance opportunities for youth in juvenile detention. Arts engagements should be informed by trauma-informed care and principles of positive youth development. We are also moving into the probation department. So instruction and mentorship with probation staff and youth currently in probation. And that'll focus on one-on-one mentorship and also cohort mentorship will be available. And also family and community support, which is a category we had this year. So organizations provide arts experiences for families of youth involved with the juvenile court system or in detention. Next slide. Staff requests the following motion: approval of the FY21 arts guidelines. And with that, I will give it back to Commissioner Schmidt.
Great, thank you. Were there any public comments on this motion submitted by email?
There were not.
Are there any callers with public comments?
There are not.
Great, and with that, I will that will end the public comment for this agenda item. We will no longer be taking calls regarding the subject. Are there any clarifying questions from commissioners about this presentation? And I'm open to accept a motion.
I'll move to approve, Jim. This is Nikki Kaufman.
I'll second. This is Will
I'll
Cheek.
move this. Okay. Never mind.
Thank you, Will, for a second. And with any further questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll go through the roll call. Commissioner Jane Alvis, how do you vote?
Aye. Aye.
Commissioner Marianne Bird?
Aye.
Commissioner Will Cheek?
Aye.
Commissioner Nikki Kaufman?
Aye.
Commissioner Bonnie Dow?
Aye.
Commissioner Clay Haynes? Commissioner Powell?
Sorry, I'm not moving fast enough with my hands and buttons.
Okay. Thank you, Natia. Commissioner Sherry Nichols-Busey?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Paula Roberts?
Aye.
Commissioner Stringer? Hope, I think you're on mute.
Sorry.
There you go.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Whitney?
Aye.
Oh, thank you, Marcus. And Commissioner Schmidt votes aye. And with that, the ayes have it, and the motion passes. Moving on, our next action item is action item number 2, shifting project grants to operational support. For members of the public that would like to call in regarding this agenda item, you may now call in. Our operators will put you on hold until we can let you into the meeting. Now I'll invite Janine to present on this item.
Great, thank you so much. With the Grants and Funding Committee, we are presenting allowing project grant recipients who receive operating funds from Metro Arts and were not able to complete projects due to COVID-19 related restrictions to transition project funds to operating funds. And then the groups requesting this amendment are Nashville Jazz Workshop, Southern Word, the National Museum of African American Music, Turnip Green Creative Reuse, New Dialect, and Actors Bridge. And just to briefly go over the projects, the Nashville Jazz Workshop had a Catalyst grant, and then the rest are a mix of access and youth programming that was not able to take place because of the stay-at-home orders and other health and safety concerns. And staff requests a motion to approve the amendment process of arts organizations currently receiving project support to transition currently receiving project support grants to transition their project support funds to operating funds. And with that, I will hand it back to Commissioner Schmidt.
Great, thank you. Were there any public comments on this motion submitted by email?
There were not.
Are there any callers with public comments?
There are not.
Okay, that is the end of the public comment for this agenda item. I will be no longer taking calls regarding this subject. Are there any questions? And if not, then I'm open for a motion to approve.
I move that we approve. This is Bonnie.
Thank you, Bonnie. Do I have a second?
Then it's Hope.
Thank you, Hope. Any further comments or questions? I don't see anybody with a hand raised. So with that, I will move on to the roll call. Please vote as I call your name. Commissioner Alvis?
Since I'm on the board of Actors Bridge, I think I have to abstain.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Byrd?
Aye.
Commissioner Cheek?
Aye.
Commissioner Kaufman?
Aye.
Commissioner Dow?
Aye.
Commissioner Haynes? Commissioner Haynes, looks like may have dropped off. Okay. Commissioner Powell?
Aye.
Commissioner Nichols-Busey?
Aye.
Commissioner Roberts?
Aye.
Commissioner Stringer?
Aye.
Commissioner Whitney?
Aye.
And Commissioner Schmidt votes aye. And with that, the ayes have it. And we will move on to our next action item. Action item number 3, Equity Committee title and roster. For members of the public that would like to call in regarding this agenda item, you may now call in. Our operators will put you on hold until we can let you into the meeting. And I'll turn it over to Janine to present.
Great, thank you so much. So just to give you an overview of this work, the Anti-Racism Transformation Team was chartered by the Arts Commission after several years of good work and recently a lot of great discussion. There was a consensus to changing the name of the body to the Committee for Anti-Racism and Equity with the acronym CARE. And just to highlight, we all felt that it was essential to apply an equity lens to any pivots our agency has been making in regards to COVID-19. And so consider the work of CARE or the art team or the equity board committee of essential work at this time. The roster for the proposed roster for the Committee for Anti-Racism and Equity are from the community: Sarah Bounce, Alondis Brazel, Erin Hoke Donges, Ellen Gilbert, Megan Kelly, Jonathan Marks, Terry McCormick, and from the Commission, Will Cheek and Paula Roberts. And staff requests a motion to approve transitioning the title of the Equity Committee to the Committee for Anti-Racism and Equity, or CARE, and to approve the roster of members. Thank you so much. I'll hand it over to Commissioner Schmidt now.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Roberts or Commissioner Cheek, do you have anything you'd like to add on to this as far as the way the committee's kind of changed over the last few months?
I don't have anything to add.
Okay. Paula?
They're doing great work, or we're doing great work. I think it's coming together. We met at the beginning of the month. The members seem very engaged and interested in the process, so I think we'll have a lot more once we're back together to share with the commission in the summer.
Okay, great. Thank you both for agreeing to step up and help with the committee. Were there any public comments on this motion submitted by email?
There were not.
Are there any callers with public comments?
There are not.
Right. Well, that is the end of the public comment for this agenda item. We will no longer be taking calls regarding this subject. And with that, I'll open it up for a motion to approve based upon the staff recommendation.
I'll move to approve, Jim. This is Nikki Kaufman.
Right. Thank you, Nikki. Is there a second?
This is Commissioner Busey. I second.
Thank you, Sherry. Any further comments or discussion? Okay, hearing none, we will move to the roll call. Commissioner Alvis?
Aye.
Commissioner Byrd?
Aye.
Commissioner Cheek?
Aye.
Commissioner Kaufman?
Aye.
Commissioner Dow?
Aye.
Commissioner Haynes? Commissioner Powell?
Aye.
Commissioner Busey?
Aye.
Commissioner Roberts?
Aye.
Commissioner Stringer?
Aye.
Commissioner Whitney?
Aye.
And Commissioner Schmidt votes aye as well. Okay. Thank you all very much for your hard work on that. Moving on, we'll now move on to action item number 4, the Fairgrounds Project finalists. For members of the public that would like to call in regarding this agenda item, you may now call in, or operators will put you on hold until we can let you into the meeting. I'll now turn it over to Van to present on this item.
Hello, everybody. It's wonderful to see you virtually. Today, I have an exciting action item to share with you. A quick recap. The RFQ was for a large-scale iconic artwork that called for qualifications, closed in August, and we received a wonderful outcome of 126 submissions. So there was a lot of interest, which we were very pleased and encouraged by. This, of course, selection process involved a citizen selection panel, and they did a fabulous job of a really thorough evaluation, and that process took place starting in August 2019 and concluded February 2020. I'd also be remiss if I didn't give our staffer, Attilio Murga, a huge shout out for navigating that while I was on maternity leave. So he did an excellent job shepherding that process. The citizen selection panel consisted of community leaders, business owners, artists, community organizers from the Wedgwood, Houston area, and it was chaired by Clay. I will let you all know that we are bringing this essential business to you because we realize in this post-COVID reality, the thorough community engagement that we had both requested and expected of the finalist is now going to be slightly reimagined since we cannot have public gatherings. And so we are bringing this to you today for a vote because we would like to begin that reimagining of community engagement as soon as possible, because we do realize that that will take some additional time and energy, both from artists, our staff, and then our site sponsors and other supporters. And with that, we can go to the next slide. So our finalist is Blessing Hancock, and we are very excited about Blessing being selected. She has actually applied to a number of our calls over the years. She was shortlisted for projects previously. And Blessing has a wonderful reputation in the field of public art. She is very well known. She has beautiful pieces across the US and a few international. And for a new procurement regulation, we did have to notify her that she has been conditionally accepted, barring that you vote to approve, and that we are able to successfully negotiate a contract. And I will say Blessing has just been a delight to work with so far. So I think we have a really strong artist pick for this project. These are some work examples. Obviously, really strong daytime, nighttime presence, which was something that the selection panel was really drawn to. We can go to the next slide, Grace. And you'll see just like really lovely site-specific work that creates gathering spaces. We're also really interested in the opportunity to involve text somehow in addition to light. And one final thing I do want to note is Blessing is very, very interested in exploring how she can kind of share her knowledge and experience with local Nashville artists. And so we are exploring the possibility of not just one, but multiple local artist apprenticeships. So we're very excited about that. And I think we'll definitely bring that back to you all if it does happen. So I think that leads us to our action slide. The Public Art Committee requests the following motion: approval of Blessing Hancock as the finalist for the Nashville Fairgrounds Public Art Project.
I'll move to approve. This is Will.
This is Paula. I'll second it.
Great. Thank you, Will and Paula. I have a motion and a second before us. Were there any public comments on this motion submitted?
There were no public comments either by email or call-in.
Great, thank you. Do any commissioners have any further discussion of the selection? Looks like some really exciting potential stuff that we have coming our way. So, if there's no further discussion, then I will move into the roll call. So Commissioner Elvis?
I vote aye, even though I can't see it, but
it's beautiful. I'll tell you.
The Public Art Committee.
Exactly. Commissioner Byrd?
Aye.
Commissioner Cheek?
Aye.
Commissioner Kaufman?
Aye.
Commissioner Dow?
Aye.
Commissioner Powell?
Aye.
Commissioner Busey?
Aye.
Commissioner Roberts?
Aye.
Commissioner Stringer?
Aye.
Commissioner Whitney? That's aye as well. With that, we approve Blessing Hancock as finalist for the Nashville Fairgrounds project.
Thank you all.
Absolutely. And with that, that concludes our action items. I'll now hand it over to Caroline to give us an update on operations.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming together. I appreciate all of you doing this virtual meeting, even though it seems harder than an in-person meeting. And thank you, Jim, for stepping in to chair it. And also thank you to the staff for doing this amazing work that they do and working harder than ever, even remotely. And as you can see through the action items, there's a lot going on. And I really appreciate their being able to pivot and help our grants partners and keep the work moving, even during this very strange time we're in. So that wanted to move into, obviously we know, I think most of you are aware of our budget, the budget cut that is proposed, 50% of our grants budget. I don't have any new information on that. We did have our budget hearing last week, and we do know the council meetings on the budget will go through, or they can potentially go through June 23rd. So we may be reaching out to you to see about shifting our June commission meeting by a week so that we're not trying to sort of figure out allocations without actually knowing what our budget is. So we may do that with the grants committee and the next commission meeting. We will also be sending out your conflict of interest forms to fill out prior to the allocations meeting in June for grants. So just be looking out for that because we will need that before we can vote on any grants. We do know June can still be a virtual meeting. We're not clear, what happens after that. We're trying to move most action items into June or August. That way, if we don't have the virtual ability to meet in July and, people aren't quite ready to come together, we can kind of push the rest of what we're working on till August. So be prepared for the June meeting to be around grant allocations. And then that's all I have right now. Feel free to reach out to me directly if you have any questions about anything that's going on, budget related or anything else. And I think that's all I have.
Great. Thank you, Caroline. Does anyone have any questions for Caroline? I will add to the discussion point about the potential Metro budget shortfall we're going to possibly see, depending on how the budget discussions keep going over the next year. I would encourage us as commissioners and both members of the public who are invested and care about the arts to have conversations with our Metro Council members just to make sure they are aware of the impact of these potential cuts and the wide-ranging detrimental impact it could have to a lot of our nonprofit partners. So if you haven't done that already, I would encourage everybody to reach out and do that individually. So anyone else have any questions?
Mr. Chairman, this is Jane, if I could speak to that a little bit.
Absolutely.
I think it's unprecedented for there to be a proposal to cut a department in half. And I think we need to let the council members know that. And Caroline can't tell you to do this, but I'm telling you to reach out really and wear out the council because they need to know this is detrimental to many organizations, and they need to hear it from us. They've heard it from the National Arts Coalition, but they need to hear it from each one of us. So I encourage you to reach out to every member of the council that you know, and even those you don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone else have any comments about that or questions? Oh, I see Commissioner Roberts, you've got your hand up.
Yes, I was going to ask Caroline if she can send us that infographic that she created a few weeks ago. Caroline, if you could resend that to all of us so that we can share it with our council members.
Of course, we'll do.
Thank you.
Great. Anyone else have any comments or questions? Okay. Well, I appreciate everyone's attendance today. I know it's a little awkward to operate this way, and I'd much rather see everybody's faces in person. And hopefully in the next couple of meetings, maybe we will get back to being able to gather in person. But if no one else has any other business before the committee, then, or the commission, we will call this meeting to adjourn.
Thank you.
Right.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
Yes, thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you all very much. Thank you to the staff.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Bye.
Has left the meeting.
Bye.